Okay, so my name is Steve Jameson, and this is a presentation on the basics of biblical research, some foundational skills for doing exegesis and similar types of papers. So any kind of research, any type of assignment or research that you have to do where you have to study a particular passage of the Bible. We're going to talk through a couple different kinds of resources that the library provides for that kind of research. So we're going to start off looking at some commentaries. So commentaries are, one of the foundational research tools that you'll use for exegesis. But there's a lot of commentaries out there. So how do you know which ones to go to? Well, for one, we have some commentary guides. And these are three that I'll highlight. New Testament Commentary Survey by D.A. Carson. Carson, a scholar we all know, he goes through and in a very kind of conversational style walks you through some of his top picks for commentaries on each book of the Bible. The companion volume for that is Tremper Longman, Old Testament Commentary Survey. He does it in more of a bullet point outline style, which I find a little easier to skim, but both are valuable tools. And then the third one down there is a guide to biblical commentaries and reference works by Covenant alumnus John Evans. He's very thorough in listing the many commentaries that are out there and gives a little comment on each, as well as some recommendations on which are his top picks. So those are some resources that you can find. We have those in the library. If you want to buy them on Amazon as a Kindle book, they're very affordable, and they're really good resources to have in your tool chest. And Andrew, if you want to hand out those books around the classroom so those here can take a look at those. We do have the first two of those, Carson and Longman, we do have those available as ebooks. We do not have the latest edition of Evans available as an ebook, but we do have the previous edition available in our catalog as a PDF that you can download. But the library has also put together a commentary guide, so we look at those guides, other guides out there, and try and distill what is the consensus among those scholars and reviewers, and put together kind of our top 10 list of commentaries on each book of the Bible. And you can find that on our website. We also have it print out for each book of the Bible in the circulation area of the library that you can grab as you go in. And I'm going to show you that online. So let me hop over here to the library website. And I'm going to scroll down. So covenantseminary.edu/library. I'm going to scroll down to our featured guides, and just below the citation guides, you'll find a link to our commentary guide. You can see that right there. Click through to that. And first up, we give you some general recommendations. So many commentaries are published as part of a series put together by a particular publisher, different authors providing commentaries on each book of the Bible. And we give you some recommendations on some of the series that are out there, so you can kind of familiarize yourself with the approaches of those series and what they're and what kinds of how they approach interpreting the Bible. And we also provide a list of the non-Western commentaries that we have, non-Western perspectives, so you can diversify your exegesis. But then getting into it, we get down to the individual books of the Bible. So today I'm going to look at Leviticus. So let me click on the commentaries on Leviticus there. And for those of you on campus, you'll notice the first thing we put there is the relevant call number regions. So this gives you the Library of Congress call number, the shelf location of Leviticus commentaries. I'll zoom in a little bit there. And then Pentateuch commentaries, since that would include Leviticus. So you can go to BS 1255.3 in the reference section or downstairs in our collection, and you will find Leviticus commentaries there. And then we get into the major commentaries. Now, we don't really call this best commentaries or the commentaries that we would most agree with. These are what we consider the major scholarly commentaries. So you won't agree with everything you find here. There's a diversity of perspectives here, so you need to know that going in. but these are the most influential commentaries on Leviticus. So I can scroll through and come down, for example, to J. Sklar's commentary right there. And I can click on that to go into the catalog to see how I can get this. So you can see we have this as a print book and as an ebook. So we have both options available. You look at the print book first. So for those of you using the library here, this will tell you which location or collection the ebook is in. I'll zoom that in for you. So we have 2 copies in reference. So one is shelved. This is the Tyndale Old Testament commentary set. So we have that entire set of that commentary in reference in one location. And then we have a second copy shelved among the Leviticus commentaries in reference. So it's in 2 different locations. And then we have 2 copies down in our main collection, the stacks. And those, as you expect, would be BS 1255.3, commentaries on Leviticus. So you need to know the location, which collection, note the call number, where it is on the shelf in that collection, and then the catalog also tells you the status. The reference copies are obviously library use only, can only be used here in the building. And then for the circulating copies, if it's checked out, it'll tell you when it's due back. And that's a live information. If it says it's checked out, it's checked out. So that's the print copy. Now let's look at the ebook option. I'll go to the next record. And I'll click through to there. So that comes up. And at this point, this lets me in to our ebook collection since I'm on campus. If you are off campus, you would be prompted to log in before you see this page. It's just your name and your library, your student ID card number will get you in. There's a number of different access options, which I'll go over in a minute. But first, I want to scroll down and highlight the usage restrictions on this ebook. And this will vary depending on the publisher and what we have purchased. So first of all, the permissions that the publisher gives. So for this ebook, I can print, email, or save 100 pages from this book. That's a pretty good amount. That should give me, a good chapter or whatever passage I'm working on. That should be enough for that. And it'll let me copy and paste text from this ebook. So that's great. Those are good permissions that we like to see. The other factor is the number of users who can access this ebook at a time. So this one, we have unlimited user access. So everyone in this room, everyone online could go open this ebook and access it at the same time, no problem. Some ebooks that we have purchased may only be available to 1 person at a time or 3 people at a time. There's a couple different options, but this will tell you what those limits are. So if it's an ebook, you may not be able to get into it if someone else is using it and it only has 1 user at a time access. So those are factors that come into play as we look at the different access options. So let's look at those now. So first, we can just view this online. So we have this particular book, we have 2 options. We can look at a PDF, which will show me like the actual page images, like I'm looking at the print copy. So it's very analogous to the print. The EPUB option is a ebook reader format, which is just the text, and it'll reflow the text to fit the screen of your device. So it's more like looking at like a web page or something like that. So I'll take a look at the PDF today. So I'll pop open, it gives me the table of contents on the side here, so I can click through to whatever section I want, and I can just read this online. Now the next thing I can do is I can check out and download the entire book. So there's the full download option. That was an option on the previous screen as well. So this guarantees you access to this book for a limited period of time, up to 2 weeks usually. So if it's a 3-user copy of the book, you can check it out, download it to your device, and you will have access to it for up to 2 weeks. You do need to create an account with the ebook provider in order to track your checkout and manage the download. And you will have to use special software to view the ebook to enforce that checkout period. So it's not a just standard Adobe PDF that you can open in Reader. It's a special format that is used by that ebook reader software. Now, even if you do check it out and download it, you still have the option you can log in into this interface and you can read it online still through your checkout exclusive access. The last option, which is really handy, particularly for commentaries, is using that print email save functionality to just download a portion of the book. So you can see next to the table of contents here, there are these little download buttons. So you can download as a standard PDF file up to 100 pages from this book. So in many books, that could be enough to get me the entire chapter. Not sure what just happened there. I lost my, I reload that screen. So if I want to grab the introduction there, it doesn't like me today. Let me try a different section. Okay. Technical difficulties. Yeah, it doesn't like me today. Okay. Anyway, trust me, that usually works, where you can download that section. If that section is larger than what you're allowed to download, then you can select how many pages you want. So you just need to go to the first page. So if you need to start at page 100, and then you can, let's try this, save pages. There we go. So I can grab the current page, and next 20 pages and save that as a PDF file. And that's especially nice if you do notice that it's a 1 or 3 user commentary and you would like to leave access for the rest of your class. Just download the pages that you need and move on. So we do have a guide on our website for downloading ebooks, covenantseminary.edu/library/guide/download-e-books. And that will walk you through the steps of how to check out and download an ebook, the software that you need, the accounts that you will need to create. So you go there and that'll walk you through that process. Let me pause to see if there's any questions about any of that so far. Great. So let's talk about some other ways to get books. So this will apply more or less depending on if you're here on campus or an online student. So just watch through the different options I give you and pick out which ones seem best for your situation. So first thing, that's going backwards. Okay, first thing I want to talk about, here we go. So if we're online students, we do have a guide for online students using the library that walk you through these steps as well. You can find that there. First thing I want to talk about is Mobius. So Mobius is a consortium of libraries in Missouri and beyond that allow for fast, easy interlibrary borrowing. So you can see the map there of all the Mobius libraries. In Missouri, we have some in Oklahoma, Southwestern Baptist down in Texas, Iowa, and we're getting some in Arkansas very soon. So with Mobius, you can get books from any Mobius library delivered to any Mobius library. So for those of you online, if you happen to live on the other side of Missouri in Kansas City or elsewhere in the state, if there's a Mobius library near you, you can use Mobius through that library. For those of you on campus, obviously you can use that here. You can get items delivered in 3 to 5 business days through Mobius, and you get an email notice when they arrive. You can also go to any of these libraries and check out books in person. Just take your ID card. You can go pull a book off the shelf and go to their circulation desk and check it out just you were one of their patrons. So Mobius includes other seminaries. We have Concordia here in St. Louis is a great one to have in this, as well as some other seminaries around the state and the country, and then large research universities, fantastic collections to have access to, as well as a number of small and medium-sized colleges and universities as well. So this is a great resource for finding books that we don't have and for getting a copy of a book when ours is checked out. So let me quickly show you how you can do that. Let me clear up some tabs here. You go back to the library homepage. I'm just going to pull up a different commentary. Leviticus. So we're going to look at the Anchor Bible commentary on Leviticus. Here's Leviticus 17 to 22. It's published in 3 different volumes, I believe. But this is the one I want. So you can see, again, our reference copy is checked out. Our reference copies here, our 2 stacks copies are checked out, but I can get this through Mobius. So up here in the catalog, you'll see the Search Mobius button. You hit that, that'll push your search up to the Mobius catalog. So now I'm searching the holdings of all those Mobius libraries. And sometimes you will see multiple records for the same book. This looks like just maybe a different printing from a different publisher for this top one. They have the same copyright date. I'm going to look at this one because it says there are 9 libraries instead of 2, so a better chance that I'll be able to get an available copy. So click through, and at this point, I just want to look down here and make sure that there is at least 1 available copy. So I know that I can get it right away. If there's not an available copy, then I'm going to have to wait for one to become available. But there's plenty of copies available. So let me go ahead and put a request through. You hit the request button. And then I choose right now you have to choose your cluster, which is a group of libraries within Mobius. This fall, we're actually transitioning where at this step you will choose your library, Covenant Seminary. You can see some of those libraries have already had that transition happen. Ours is coming up, I believe, sometime this month. But for now, you're in the Bridges cluster. So you just have to remember that or click this link up here to look it up. So I'm in Bridges, and I'm just going to type in, this is my test account. So I'm going to type in my name, my ID card number, and then I just tell it where I want to pick it up. If you're on campus, usually you would want to pick it up here at Covenant Seminary, but if you lived somewhere else in Missouri, you could choose any other Mobius library to have this book delivered to. So I'm going to choose Covenant Seminary since that's where I am. I click Submit. You won't always see this screen. So this is asking me to select which item I want. This shows up when you're dealing with a multi-volume work, which in this case, sometimes this is treated as volume whatever of the Anchor Bible series by some libraries. Other times it's treated as a standalone work. So it's asking me for clarification. If it's just a straight up single volume, it'll just pick what it feels is the best copy to request for you and place the hold on that copy. But at this point, if you do see this screen, I just want to make sure that I'm choosing one that's available. Doesn't really matter which one I choose. Maybe I say, okay, Fontbonne, they're here close in town, so maybe that'll come a little bit quicker. So I'll request that one. And then I just want to make sure that it says that my request was successful. So now that item will get paged at Fontbonne. They'll pack it up, send it through to Mobius Carrier. It'll be here in a couple days. I'll get my email when it's ready. So this is absolutely free for you to use, so make use of it. Okay. Next up, so reciprocal borrowing networks. So we're a member of 2 networks of libraries that allow our patrons to use one another's libraries. So particularly for those of you who are online, but for those of you here, if you were traveling or doing a semester away or finishing up a degree after you've left St. Louis, you may be able to use a library near you to get books. So we're a member of the ATLA program and the ACL program. Now, if I go to the library homepage, we have maps for each of these networks, so you can see what's available. I'm just going to scroll down on the homepage. I click Mobius and Interlibrary Loan because that's our page for, how do you get books from somewhere else? Mobius being the big one. And scroll down, and here's our reciprocal borrowing agreements right here. So here's information about each one. What are the requirements? What do you need to bring with you? What do you expect? And then here's the interactive maps. So I can see here's the ATLA, here's the ACL. I can zoom in. If I'm in the Chicago area, zoom in here in the western suburbs. Hey, I can go to Wheaton College and use the other Buswell Library. You can just walk in there, get set up with them through this program and check out books from their collection. So that's another option for getting books. Next up, interlibrary loan. So Mobius is a kind of interlibrary loan. It's a very fast, streamlined version, but there's a more traditional version that's a little more of a manual process. Now through Covenant, you can get books through interlibrary loans sent to campus. Otherwise, if you want to get them sent somewhere else, you would use the local public library in that area. This is free or low-cost service. It's free through us. Public libraries may have their own policies, but it's usually free or a very nominal fee per item to get a book through interlibrary loan. You do need to allow adequate time. We say to allow up to 2 weeks for a book to come. Other places may quote longer times depending on how they process things and whatever their expectations are. So most importantly, if you are using a public library for interlibrary loan, either now or in the future, be sure to check with them, check their website, check with a reference librarian to find out more details about their policies and procedures and what to expect. But those are all great ways that you can get books depending on your situation. Now, what if I really need something now? It's, it's nighttime, library's closed, the paper's due tomorrow. I really need to get something right this second. Well, you can come to our library homepage, and under the search bar there, you see our other catalogs. And we have an ebooks link there that'll let you quickly search all the ebooks that we have available. So I can just type in Leviticus, commentary, and see what turns up. So there, I've got 14 results of different Leviticus commentaries that I can access potentially right now as an ebook. It's very short and simple. Now this isn't all the ebooks we have, it's most of them. So this isn't going to get you everything, but it will get you a lot if you just want something really quick. Okay, so let me pause there if there's any questions about commentaries or getting books through one of the many means I've showed you. Good? Okay. So often we get the question, well, what about study Bibles? I've got this ESV study Bible. I found a great note in it. Is this something I can use in my exegetical paper? Well, unfortunately, the answer is usually no, because the study Bibles, they are great resources, but they're not really considered a scholarly source that you'd want to cite in your, your research paper that you're going to hand in to your professor. So what we tell you instead is you take your ESV study Bible, you flip open to the front, and you look at the list of contributors. And I'll tell you who did the study notes on each book of the Bible. So we're looking at Leviticus, so if you look that up, Oh, guess what? Jay Sklar did the study notes on Leviticus for the ESV Study Bible. So if it's Jay Sklar or someone else, then look up, see if they wrote a full commentary, and use that instead. So look for a full commentary by that study note contributor. That's going to be a much better resource for your research and a better source to cite for your paper. So just a quick note. So now let's look at another type of research material, journal articles. So commentaries are great. They're kind of that one-stop shop. They give you a lot of information. They're organized very nicely. Journal articles can also be a great supplement to that because they can give you very focused, targeted information about a particular issue in a passage. They can also be more up to date. So something may often get written up as a journal article well before it makes it into a commentary. So the most recent scholarship is going to be found in recent journal articles. So where do you go to find journal articles? So there are a couple places you can go. So we have 4 primary databases for searching for biblical studies material. They're the Atlas Religion database, and that's going to be the primary one that you'll probably use. That's a great place to go first. We also have New Testament abstracts, Old Testament abstracts, and religious and theological abstracts. Now, why do we have 4 databases? Well, the reason is because each of these, while they do overlap considerably in terms of the journals that they cover, each one of those contains unique material. So there's some journals that are in one that's not in the others. So for the sake of comprehensiveness, we need to offer all of them. But again, a great place to start is the Atlas Religion database, and then you can supplement your results with some of these other databases as you feel need to. All 4 of these allow you to search for articles based on a scripture citation. So you can take your passage, go to the database and say, show me articles about this passage of scripture. Now, it's not always as simple as that, unfortunately. There are varying degrees of complexity to doing that kind of search. So I want to demonstrate that for you today in the Atlas Religion database, so you can see what that looks like. And then we have a guide. We have a handout up here. We have a guide on our website that walks you through the same thing that I'm going to show you today, as well as gives you some tips on using those other 3 databases to do that kind of search. So let's jump in. So I'm going back to the library homepage. I'm going to scroll down to the journal articles databases section there. Now, if I click view all databases, we have over 60 different research databases available to you as a student that you can use on a variety of topics. Today, I want to look at religion and theology, so I'm going to click that option today. So that filters my list there, and there at the top is the Atlas Religion database. The other ones are down below. Okay, click through there. Again, I got into the database because I'm on campus, so it recognizes me. If you're off campus, you'll be prompted to log in when you go into the database. Now, there are 2 strategies I want to show you. The quickest option, and the problem here is that the databases aren't necessarily very good at interpreting ranges, number ranges. So if I say verses 1 through 10, 1-10, it's not so great at understanding what that means. And that includes, verse 2 or 2 through 5. So we have to help the computer out a little bit. And so the first way you can do that is up at the top. Let me zoom in a little bit there for you. So up at the top, you have the different options. And very suggestingly, there's one labeled scriptures. So I'm going to click on that. And that gives me a list of the books of the Bible. So I'm going to look at, say Genesis. I can expand that to see the chapters. I can click on any of those chapters to find articles that are about that chapter or any part, any verses within that chapter. Or I can expand that again to go down to a particular verse and say, oh, I want verse 2. And there's my search. I've gotten nearly 1,500 articles about Genesis 1-2. If that's all I need, that's great, I'm done. Well, I might need to do some narrowing there because I'm not going to read 1,500 articles. But you can see that I only had the option of doing a whole chapter or a single verse. There was no in between. There was no, I want these 10 verses because that's my pericope that I'm studying, that I'm going to be preaching on or writing this exegetical paper on. So for that kind of search, we need to go a little bit different strategy. So instead of hitting scriptures up here, let me zoom in again, I'm going to go to More and click Indexes. Indexes. Then I'm going to browse here. I'm going to choose the Bible Citation Index. So this is a listing of all the Bible citations, the scripture citations used on all the records in the database. Now for this search, I'm going to look at 1 Corinthians 11, verses 2 through 16, where Paul's talking about hairstyles and head coverings. Very interesting passage. I'm going to search for that. Now, it's very particular about how you enter books of the Bible where there's a first and a second. So you start off by saying Corinthians. Then you put comma, 1 ST for first, 2 ND for second, put another space, and then put your chapter number. And just do that for now. And click Browse. So again, I said before that we're looking at a listing of all the different scripture ranges that are referenced on the records in this database. So let me zoom in a little bit on that. So up here at the top, here's 1 Corinthians 11. And over here, it'll tell you how many records that entry represents. So 23 articles on the entire chapter. Then we get down into individual ranges. So here's verse 1. There are 10 about verse 1, etc. So I'm interested in verses 2 through 16 in particular. So I'm going to leave out verse 1. Now maybe I'll grab verses 1 through 12, since that includes a large portion of my, my pericope. And I just check off any of these ranges that intersect with mine. So 1 through 12, 1 through 16, maybe 1 through 34 is a little big. I'll grab 10 and 11, 11 through 12, 11 through 13, and so on. There's 14 and 16. So I don't want 16 through 21. Now you'll notice here that it jumps from verse 1 to 10. And that's because this is doing a strict alphabetical sort. So 10, because it starts with the number 1, comes before the number 2 if you're sorting alphabetically. It's not doing a numerical sort. So at this point, I'm going to go to the next page. And after we get past all the teens, so there's verse 19, then I get to verse 2. So 2, etc., 2, 6. We get to 20, don't want that. Next page, after we get through all the 20s, entire page of 20s, we get to verse 3. There's the 30s, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. And then I'm at chapter 12. Okay, so I've just checked off all those ranges that look interesting to me. When I'm all done, I go up here, make sure this is set to OR, and hit Add. So this is making a big search that basically says, give me anything that's about this range, or about this range, or this one, or this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. So it builds that search for me. Then I click Search to go. And I've got my 193 articles about my verse range. If You have some limiters over here that you can apply if you want to help narrow this down. So I can limit to only those that are available in this database as a full text PDF. I can go down and limit by language, so I can just grab the 160 that are in English, since I don't know any foreign languages. I don't have good mastery of theological German or French or anything, so just look at English. And then I can start looking at my results. So it gives you the article title, tells you the author's name, tells you what journal it was published in, and the issue and date information, and the page numbers, right? So that's all the basic information about my journal. You will see a lot of PDFs showing up in your results. So I can just click on that, open that article, read it online, download it to my computer, email it to myself, whatever I want to do with that. That's just a plain PDF, download it, keep it forever. Now, of course, you don't see that on all of them. So there are some that are not available in this database. And so that's why we have this find full text link at Covenant. This will go out if I click on that and search other databases. It'll search our e-journal subscriptions. It'll search our print collection to see if we have access to that journal, that article, somewhere in the library's collection. So let me click on this one down here just for demonstration purposes, even though it has the PDF, just so you can see some of the options that come up. So it sends the information to this service, and it says, okay, is it available in another database? Great, so it knows that this is available in the Atlas Religion database. I can click through into that database, find my article there. Is it available in our print collection? Yep, we have this journal in print, so I can click through there to the catalog to get more information about that journal, go pull it off the shelf. Now, if you're online and you don't have access to our collection, hold on, I'll get to you in a second, because we do have an option for you. The last option, if nothing comes up, can't get it online, you can't get it in our print collection, you can request an interlibrary loan. So I click that request interlibrary loan link. I'm going to log in. And it's going to bring up our interlibrary loan request form. You can see it passes through all the information about that journal article and fills out the form for you. Right? Now for my online attendees, so if you see, you can make requests for periodicals through our library because these are fulfilled electronically. They're sent, the library scans it in, they send it to us as a PDF, we forward it to you. So on campus, online, you do an article request through interlibrary loan, you're gonna get a PDF through email. Now for you, those of you online, if you see that we have it in print, go ahead, hit that request interlibrary loan link, and then you, if you're an online student, will have this option to check if Covenant owns that item, and we will scan it in for you and send it to you. So those of you in the room, sorry, you have to come here and do that yourself. But for those of you who don't have the benefit of coming into the library, we want to help you out. And so that's what you can do. So you check that box. That helps us process your requests in an efficient manner. So if you're on campus, you will not see that option. Anyway, you check to make sure that everything that came through looks correct, that all the boxes got filled in with the right information. Come down, read the little copyright notice, and submit your request. That goes to our ILL staff. Again, they will request that article from another library, and we can usually turn those around within a week, often a couple days, but do allow up to a week for an article request. Okay? So one more thing I want to show you about the Atlas Religion database is they don't index only articles in journals. They also index essays published in books. So this is writing, it's very much like a journal article, but instead of being published in a journal that exists over time, that's collected together into like a one-off book, usually often in honor of a particular scholar who may be retiring. They'll get all his buddies together, they'll write something in his or her honor, and they'll publish it as a book. And ATLA indexes those at that essay level. So we may have a record for the book in our catalog, ATLA will know about each individual essay in that book. So if I come down to my filters on the left here, you can see two source types turned up in my results: academic journals, self-explanatory, and then essays. So that's these essays published in a book. So I'm going to limit to those. One of these days, I tell you, I'm going to get them to fix this. But you see this icon there that says periodical. That is a complete lie. This is not a periodical. This is an essay in a book. You can tell that because right over here, it says publication type essay. So if you see this, think this is not in a journal. This isn't going to be a PDF online. This is in a book. So I need to start thinking about how do I get a book. So one thing you can do, if I come down to this one, Augustine's Pauline method, you can hit search Covenant Catalog and see if we have it. Now, we apparently do not, but again, I can try Mobius. I can get the book that way. So there it is. I can request a book, have it here in a couple of days, and get access to my essay. Maybe Mobius doesn't have it. Maybe I don't have access to Mobius because I'm an online student. What can I do? Get that find full text link. It's not going to find anything, but it's going to give you the interlibrary loan link. So you come in again, it says, hey, I'd like to request a chapter or essay from a book. So fills out the form for you. You can submit that. We can get a scan of that particular essay for you through interlibrary loan. So you have lots of options for doing that. So if you take anything away from this presentation, know that we want to get stuff to you. Whatever you need, we will try and get it for you. Okay. Any questions about the ATLA Religion Database, finding journal articles, anything like that? Yes?
How is the list being organized?
How is the list organized? Good question. So you can sort it in different ways. By default, it's going to come up under relevance, whatever that means. You know, the computer's trying to make a guess as to what best matches your search. For a search like this, where you're doing a scripture citation, I'm not really sure how it weights what seems more relevant than the other. You know, if you're searching for doing a keyword search, a topical search, then you know it has a little more room to play around with. But you can change that sort to sort, so you get the newest articles first. If you only want to see, okay, what is the latest publications? Okay. Great. So back to the library homepage. One last thing on journal articles. So another way to find material is to see who other people cite. So as you're reading your commentaries, as you're reading your journal articles, you can pay attention to who is being cited. And maybe the commentary references a journal article and you're like, that seems right on to my concern. Can I get access to that journal article? So let me show you how you can determine that. So I'm back at the library homepage. Again, right underneath the search bar, other catalogs, we have a journals list. This is a searchable list of every journal that we have access to, electronically or in print. This is the master list. And so if I want to get an article that was published in the Journal for the Study of the New Testament, I just have to type that in here. Journal for the Study of the New Testament. So note you type in the journal title, not the article title. You're searching at the journal level right now. I'm going to search for that journal, and it's going to tell me all the ways I can get access to that journal as a Covenant student and what issues are available through that means. So you can see we have a couple different options here. So one, we can get from 1999 to current from Sage Online. That's the publisher. So we have an e-journal subscription to this journal. So I can get the very latest issue they've put out through the publisher by clicking that link. I'll go to the publisher's website, I can browse what they have there. Next one down, 1978 to present from Atla Religion. Or there's a note, there's a 12-month embargo. That just means there's a publisher restriction that prevents the database from putting the full text online for 12 months. So Atla will have from 1978 to a year ago. And that'll move forward as we move through time. So that's why it says current, but there is that limitation there. But we can get that most recent year direct from the publisher. There's another database that has content from that. We have it in print in our collection going back to issue 1. So you just click through to whichever option seems the best to you that fits the issue that you need, and you can get access that way. Okay. So now as we wrap up, real quick, I want to talk about identifying academic sources and evaluating sources real quick. So here's 2 publications put out by the seminary: Covenant Magazine, Presbyterion. Which of these is your academic source? Presbyterion, right? You know, that's the academic journal put out by the seminary. You can tell that because of the, how it looks. It's going to look more like an academic journal, what the tone of the writing is, who it sounds like it's addressed to. Covenant Magazine is written at a very basic level, targeting alumni, donors, friends of the seminary, helping them connect with the mission of the seminary. Presbyterion is going to be very academic. Presbyterion is going to have a lot of footnotes. Covenant Magazine, probably 0 footnotes. Right? So those are some of the things you can look for. Peer-reviewed. So maybe you're familiar with this topic, maybe you're not, but peer review is a process for journals where before an article is published, it gets sent out to other experts in the field to look at the article and determine if it is good scholarship. Right? So ideally, this helps ensure that the articles are trustworthy. It's not perfect. We've all seen probably stories in the news about ways the system has failed. It can be more or less rigorous depending on the journal. Sometimes things slip through. But it is something that you can use to help limit your searches to more scholarly material. And usually in a database, you'll see a peer review limiter option. So you can check off that box and it'll only show you peer-reviewed articles. Do use that box with caution. Because, for example, Presbyterion, which we just talked about, is not considered a peer-reviewed journal. It is editorially reviewed, but it does not have a proper peer review process in place for publication. So if you check that checkbox, you're going to exclude everything from Presbyterion, which you probably don't want to do. But even if you do keep your brain engaged, you still have to engage and evaluate the content that you're reading there. A lot of similar considerations for books, which is a academic book on Christian spirituality, probably the 5 Views of Sanctification one, where you have several different scholars writing on the topic, interacting with one another, arguing with one another, footnoting, and everything, rather than Donald Miller's Blue Light Jazz. Let's take a look at evaluating sources a little more in depth real quick. So for that, we're going to look at the CRAP test from California State University. So some things you can look at. So currency, the first C. When was it published and how important is that to you? If you're in a counseling class, currency is going to be super important. And you may want to use a date limiter in your searches to limit to the most recent 5 maybe 10 years of content. Biblical studies is a little more forgiving in that way because there's some older stuff that is really classic and holds up over time. That can still be a factor. There's archaeological discoveries, the Dead Sea Scrolls, some active areas of scholarship where currency can be more important. So keep that in mind. Look at relevance. How does this thing I'm reading relate to my question? What is the importance of this thing to my information needs? Does it address my question directly? Is it more of a peripheral concern for this author? Who's the intended audience of this thing? Who is it written for? And is it an appropriate level for your research needs? First A is authority. So the question of what is the source of this information? Who wrote it? Who published it? Who sponsored it? What are that person's credentials? Why is that person a qualified expert on this topic? Why should you listen to them? So just some questions to have in the back of your mind. Accuracy. Where does this information come from? What supporting evidence does the author provide? Who are they interacting with and citing? If it's an article, is it peer-reviewed? Do you notice errors, logical errors, factual errors, spelling, grammatical errors? Different kinds of hints as to the quality of the work. And purpose, lastly. Why does this thing exist? Why did someone bother to write this or put this out into the world? Is this factual? Is it a matter of opinion? Is this a piece of propaganda? Was it trying to, what idea is it trying to sell you? And is it trying to be objective and impartial, as hard as that may be? Or is it very evident that there are biases? And lastly, theological perspective. So where are people coming from theologically? So some things you can do is examine key parts. Look at the table of contents to see how it's structured. Look at prefaces and introductions or even conclusions where the author might indicate what motivated them or what their background is. Bibliographies to see who are they interacting with. Indexes to see what key terms they're using. Look for reviews. So go into the Atlas Religion database, type in the title of the book, and where we saw like those publication type limiters, academic journal, essay, there's also a review type limiter. So click that review limiter and it'll see if there are any book reviews published in academic journals that talk about that book and evaluate it. That can be important for determining where the author's coming from. Look at the publisher's website to see what other kinds of things they publish. Ask a librarian. We're not going to know every author out there, but we can help you do some sleuthing to figure out where someone is coming from theologically. So that's it. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for coming. If you do have any questions, come see me, set up an appointment, and we can talk. I'd love to walk you through doing a scripture citation search if you want to do that. Anything you need, come contact us.